I skipped a friend's wedding to be on the cover of MiniTruckin because I'm like, they'll forgive me, but I'll never forgive myself if I don't show up for this. My name is Chris Stone. People call me TacoChris if you see me online. I've been in Houston, spring, my whole life. Just a dirty old mini trucker. That's what I always tell people. Really nothing flashy or special about me. This is what I do. My dad ran an auto repair shop. Pretty successful auto repair shop in our area, and it was in my driveway, in our front driveway. So the business was joined to our house. So the minute I walked out the door, I stepped into a full service auto repair business. So cars have always been forefront in my life. There was always something in the driveway. My dad was always, whether he was restoring old Ford tractors or he was painting a truck, my dad was really the one who influenced me the most on all this, because he was the one who taught me how to work on a vehicle, how to maintain a vehicle. His custom days had kind of long since been gone, but he still knew so much. He still knew body work. He still knew he could help me shave things on my truck, even though he thought it was goofy. But he was the one who helped me do pretty much everything on my truck. He wasn't the biggest mini trucker in the world. He used to joke with me every time I would do a modification of the truck. He would say, "You ready to take that truck to the junkyard?" And I just laugh about it, man. But he didn't get the lowering thing. But I tell you what, as much as he didn't understand it, he was right there putting blocks in. He was right there helping me take leaves out. He was right there teaching me how to drop the torsions, mount my rims, shave panels on it. So deep down, I think he really wanted to support me in that, because he saw that I was passionate about mini trucking. Even if it wasn't something he was into, it wasn't a 56 Bel Air or whatnot, he was still right there with me. I had a 77 Chevy Nova, 4-door, 9 pounds of Bondo on one side of it. But it wasn't long before I had 14-inch Supremes, 215s, underglow neons, and everything I could have imagined on it, and it was still 9 different colors of brown and gold. It was a hideous car, and girls refused to ride with me half the time, but man, I really love that ugly old piece of turd. As far as mini trucking goes, I always went to the old Walmarts, and I would go through the magazine aisle, and the Mini Truck magazine sitting right at the front of the rack. Because I was buying lowrider magazines back then, like early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And then when I saw mini trucking for the first time, it was like nothing I had ever seen before. The style was different. The suspensions were different. People were doing different things than lowriding. Wasn't what I was used to. And I think the thing that really hit it off for me is I was driving that Nova, and my brother-in-law showed up to Thanksgiving one day in what I'd had imagined was an pre-94 Chevy extended cab, brand new, and it was absolutely hammered. I mean, he drug into the driveway in it on 17-inch center lines and low pros, and it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And I'm sitting there looking at my Nova right next to his Chevy, and I'm thinking, I don't think I could ever make the Nova look like that. Like, I'm gonna have to do something cool. And then I ended up with the 86 eventually, and that was what really got me going in it. My first mini truck was an 86 Toyota SR5 extra cab. My dad bought it from a friend, and it was in his backyard, and it was like missing the doors. It had been, I guess the door had gotten bent or something like that. Mostly original paint, cream, pretty much like this one. And that was like the thing that got me going in mini trucking, was that Yoda. Well, at some point I got a wild hair, and I thought I needed a new vehicle, and I bought a Honda Civic, a 2-door, because of Kevin Whipp's Bad Apple Civic. And I was gonna shave it, I was gonna put rag top in it, I was gonna do all that nonsense. And I figured out after a while, I was like, yeah, it's not gonna work for me. I'm not an import guy. So at that point, I think I had it about a year. I wanted a mini truck. I wanted a new mini truck, and at that point, they were still selling small mini trucks. So me and my dad piled in the Civic. we went down to the Toyota dealership and I picked out a base model, white, regular cab Tacoma, standard shift, exactly what I wanted. And I was supposed to drive that while I built the 86 Toyota. Pretty soon I was like, yeah, man, I'm gonna lower this thing a little bit. Let's put some rims on it, billet grill, and then pretty soon here we are. You know, I'm using my tax return to bag it. You know, the Tacoma's laid out, and it was so beautiful because it was brand new. The 86 just kind of lost out a little bit because it had been years worth of shaving work done to it. It was covered in primer. The 03 was just about brand new, and pretty soon all my focus went that direction. The Tacoma ended up getting built. It was as clean as it could possibly be, and eventually I got a call from Rocky over at Chaotic and said, hey, do you want to be shot for MiniTruckin? And I don't know what I said at the time, but I'm pretty sure it was just a mashup of freak out. So I begged my wife, listen, we're about to go to a wedding in Austin. Can I skip the wedding? I skipped a friend's wedding I'm like, you gotta understand, I've been dreaming about this my whole life. I skipped a friend's wedding to be on the cover of MiniTruckin because I'm like, they'll forgive me, but I'll never forgive myself if I don't show up for this. Had the truck cleaned up, super excited. We drove out to 290 before it was opened up, and we snuck our way onto the freeway. We went around the barriers and parked out on the freeway, just spread out and did the photo shoot. God, I was so happy I don't even remember how I felt. It was one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me mini truck wise. Even my parents were a little excited about that. So, and I think I bought 10 copies of it, and I still keep those kind of hidden away. But I loved it. I only wish that MiniTruckin was around long enough to have featured my truck for real. But I'll take it. Well, as I mentioned before, I had that 86 Toyota. I had it for a really long time. I loved that truck. I had it all the way up until the point I got married. My wife drove it to work every once in a while. You know, and it had a full Phantom, 4-wheel drive sheet metal. I had shaved the bumper on it. I had 17-inch Coddingtons on it that I bought brand new from pushing grocery carts at Target. All my money, my parents were so frustrated with me. I spent all my money on some billet wheels. But I always regretted selling that truck. I sold that truck to pay for the chrome work on the Tacoma that I eventually built. And it felt good at the time, but there was always that little piece of my soul I felt left with that truck. And when this truck came up, it was the same color as my old 86. And I felt like this is my opportunity to do what I should have done with the 86 I had first. And that's where the name comes in, Zero Focus, because I started working on that 86 to make it my show truck. And I got the Tacoma to be a daily driver. And then pretty soon the daily driver, the Tacoma's body dropped. I sold the 86 to pay for the chrome work on the Tacoma. My focus shifted like so quickly. And I'm doing now, I feel like I'm picking up where I left off on the 86 and doing what I always dreamed, what I always made on paintbrush when I was a kid. I would copy and paste pictures and shave things on it. This is my opportunity to do what I should have done. So I have my 94 Toyota because I don't learn lessons, and I continue to drive mini trucks every day. I can't get it out of my brain. All my friends have upgraded to full-size Chevys, and everybody's driving SUVs now, and I may be at some point, but I'm still driving a 94 Toyota pickup. I bought it. I'm the second owner of the truck. I thought it would be fun to have a mini truck trip with the family. And yeah, it's an extra cab. I don't know how they get away legally calling it an extra cab, because really it's good for people to sit sideways in. But I decided we were gonna take the 94 to the beach. We throw my son's booster seat in the front, buckle him in, pile ourselves, shoulder deep with with bag chairs and umbrellas and things like that. And my wife has to sit sideways in the back buckled up, leaning over the front seat the entire trip to Galveston. But I tell you what, like, my wife took a photo from the back seat of me gripping the billet wheel and my son sitting right next to me. And that's what it's all about right there. Like, that right there was a good day, as bumpy and long as that ride took. But yeah, and I can only hope that my son's talking about those moments one day, even if he doesn't end up a mini trucker. I can't force him to be, even though I try. I can only hope that he remembers those long trips in Daddy's old bumpy truck. My dad passed away in 2012. That was probably, I tell people, it's probably the worst day of my life, because my dad was, I say it all the time, he was my hero. That's why I keep that picture of John Wayne on the wall, right over there next to my toolbox, because that was my dad. My dad was John Wayne. I always called him that, because that's how he acted. He was a no-nonsense, hardcore, old-school dude, and it didn't matter what happened to my mini trucks. I could get broke down, if something would happen, it didn't matter what time it was, where I was. Dad would show up with a trailer from an hour away, ready to load my truck up. And he would take it back to the shop, he would give me his truck to drive, and that was the thing, and that's what I think society has gotten away from that. My dad would drop anything to help anyone, anytime. It didn't matter what it was. He may not have been super excited about it, but he was there. He thought the air suspension thing was kind of goofy. I mean, he did admit that he cut a lot of coils back in his day. But I remember when I showed up with that truck, my Tacoma bagged, and I pulled up into the driveway for the first time, and he kind of walked out and watched me drive in, and I planted it in the grass right in front of the garage. You couldn't shake the smile off of his face. He had the biggest smile I've seen in a long time, and it was at that point, like, I kind of knew, like, he might have not been into it, but man, it made him smile that I was actually following through with it. He thought it was just the coolest thing. And then I showed up body dropped one day. He's like, so you're telling me you cut the floor out of a brand new truck? I'm like, yeah, pretty much. But look at it, the grass is stuck in the door. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Yeah, he always supported me. He was pretty much like the cornerstone of the entire family. So when he passed away, it made all of this mean a whole lot more to me, because he worked on the 86 with me. So I kind of feel like when I'm building this, that he's kind of, watching me and asking me if he wants me to take it to the junkyard yet, in his head, but still with a big smile on his face. I've been a mini trucker longer than I haven't been one. So I think if I had to add it up, it had been about 25 years now that I've been just gung-ho mini truck. Never looked back. Once the bug hit, it became an infestation in my brain, and it's never ever left. Everything got lowered, everything I've ever owned. I think it's past addiction level. This is a welcomed addiction. Like, this is something I have no desire. I will be that old man with a cane and a mini truck. I will always be that. I can't imagine my life without mini trucks. There's no way I would ever give it up. And I don't think I could if I tried.